Hi, this is Pat Moorhead with More Insights and Strategy. We are here for another More Insights and Strategy Insider podcast, where we have the most influential folks in the technology industry to chat about some awesome stuff. And today I have Ryan Baxter, Senior Director of Data Center at Micron. Ryan, how are you?
Great. How you doing today, Pat?
Good. So where are you broadcasting from?
Broadcasting from Boise, Idaho, headquarters of Micron Technology.
Oh, that's awesome at the big HQ there. I love it. I'm here in Austin, Texas. It's 70 and sunny, but there's nothing that I'd rather be doing than hanging out and doing podcasts. I love doing podcasts, even though I'm an industry analyst. I have no idea why, but hey, we're going to talk about memory for data center. We're going to talk about DDR5 here, but maybe a great place to start, Ryan, is we have your title up there, but what do you do for Micron?
Sure. I head up the group, the data center group at Micron within the compute and networking business unit. So it's my job to look after some of the most important customers when it comes to data center, so both in the cloud as well as in the traditional enterprise space. So we like looking around the corner with customers. We like understanding what's coming over the next 2 to 5 years, even beyond. So really looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah, me too. And don't tell anybody, Ryan. I used to be a product person myself when I had a real job. So that might squeak out a few times here. But hey, I think a great place to start here is about relevance, about memory innovation and the future of the data center. You know, I had some great conversations with some folks earlier at Micron about this, but I'd love to hear from you. Why is memory so important for the future of the data center?
Yeah, we're pretty excited about what's going on these days. Of course, multi-core CPU architectures are really coming into their own in the data center. And what that means is a whole lot more requirements around the memory subsystem. So, we're looking at a situation over the next several years where core counts are essentially going to be growing about 25% per year. Now, it's really important to understand what those underlying trends are, because that means there's that much more pressure that's driven out of the memory subsystem. So, what's got us here today, D3, D4, typically isn't going to get us to where we want to go in the next 4 or 5 years. So really, DDR5 is the next generation technology that allows us a lot of different, latitudes to expand that performance envelope, and to really, work with the customers to deliver the performance envelope they're looking for the next generation systems.
Yeah, so we know that DDR5 is better than DDR5. Sorry, DDR5 is better than DDR4 because 5 is bigger than 4. But can you talk a little bit about how DDR5 is different from DDR4, and maybe talk a little bit about the evolution of DDR5 as well?
Yeah, sure. So if you look back in DDR3 and DDR4, these were memories that were built for a market that not only included servers, but also included client and a number of other applications. It wasn't too long ago that the client applications really dominated the DRAM demand space. And so it stood to reason that we focused on the requirements for those larger markets. Turns out that these days that market is shifting more and more toward data center. And so what DDR5 is a memory purpose-built and architected for the data center. We've got 2x the data rate. We've got 2x the burst length, and what that means is you're basically getting a lot more data on a per cycle basis. We have essentially the 2x the banks, which means inside the DRAM, you've got a lot more ability to respond to a particular queue. And so you're turning around data much, much faster. You've also got what we call subchannels. And so in DRAM architectures, the number of channels matters, and the channels feeding the CPU is what really drives the bandwidth for the CPU. And so we've also doubled the number of channels, as well as doing some interesting things on the signaling side to make sure that the memory subsystem and the signal can really keep up with some of the data rates that we're pushing. So we've really architected this from the ground up, again, to be server focused. It's also not just about performance necessarily. It's also about driving some of the features that will allow the industry to continue to scale. Of course, our customers love that because typically scaling means, better bit availability, better cost structures over time. And so we've really built that into the next generation DDR5 from the ground up.
Yeah, it is incredible. I watched the evolution of memory. I'm aging myself a little bit, but since 1990.
Okay.
And it is incredible, even up to this day, here in 2022, you have all the processor vendors really bragging about their support for DDR5 and how it makes the entire compute solution that they're offering just better. And it makes sense. I mean, the more data you can process at the same time, getting data in and out of the processor as fast as possible and then out to I/O, it gets really, really important. But let's bounce to use cases and really the value proposition for DDR5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so of course DDR5, as you stated before, comes after DDR4. It's really going to become the workhorse of the industry, not only in servers, but we're also going to see a pretty big splash in client platforms as well. We've got so PC, typically your high performance laptops, as well as the data center over time. Some platforms are actually already starting to incorporate D5. We've been sampling for a while, and we've seen x86 to non-x86 platforms take it up, again because of the benefits it provides. It's really beneficial to compute memory workloads like HPC, like gaming, like video encoding, and just again being that workhorse memory subsystem for the infrastructure as a service company who really want to get the most virtual machines out of the single piece of silicon that they've spent a good deal of money on. So it really is a fairly it's targeted for the data center, but it's applicable to many different applications. When it comes to high performance, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I could even see in the enterprise data center it helping even relations. If you can run more VMs, and let's say you're getting charged on a per socket basis for your software, you can do more with the same amount of sockets. It seems like it also could save you money. So hey, the more DDR5 memory you buy from Micron, the more you save.
That's right. It's absolutely the best path to a long-term TCO. It's great to point that out, because again, you just don't get there with DDR4. It's been a great technology, but it has limitations that DDR5 really overcomes over time.
Right. So once upon a time, I worked for a very large processor company, and x86 processor company, and I was always amazed at how the sockets and the systems and the memory all aligned at the same time. And it's not magic. It actually takes a heck of a lot of planning. Can you talk a little bit about what Micron has done to enable the ecosystem for DDR5? Just, you're not just going to issue a spec sheet to the processor people and vice versa, and it magically just works.
Right. No, it's a great question. It starts by really sitting down and understanding what it is, our end customers want at the end of the day, and developing and architecting something that services most of those requirements. It's never going to be a perfect technology, because there's always going to be outliers for people that want something slightly different. But so we've been working on this for many years, actually, and we work closely within a group called JEDEC to define and enable the kind of new features and functionality of DDR5, and that's really because we want it, a standard interface. We want to be able to enable the customers to use DDR5 in a very, very significant way, and standardization is key to that end. We've also stood up what we're calling a Technology Enablement Program. That's actually we've actually had this in place for some time in the past, but it's kind of a nice one-stop shop that you can visit at Micron data sheets, for behavioral and functional models, signal integrity models, power and thermal models, other ecosystem connect points. It really is a one-stop shop and a way to sort of log into one spot and get pretty much whatever you need to make DDR5 a reality for you. So the initial TEP programs or technology enablement programs were extremely successful, well received by the customer base. So we're doing that again with DDR5 and already seeing some early success with it.
Yeah. So Ryan, if you can ever get to a JEDEC board meeting, about 3 years ago, I was in Maui at a show, and I saw the sign. It said JEDEC board meeting, and I'm like, this is great. I need to get on. I need to get on this board at some point.
Yeah,
but,
we're right around those times of the board meetings. We always wish we were on the JEDEC committee for Micron.
Exactly. So, hey, Ryan, I'm going to hit you right between the eyes on this one. There are other people who manufacture and develop DDR5. Why Micron? What makes Micron special?
Sure. Well, Micron is U.S.-based industry leader in innovative memory solutions. That sort of speaks for itself. But we've actually been ramping our DDR5 and our 1Z process node for some time. It's actually a process node that's very mature. So we have a lot of the kinks worked out, if you will. We are also very much on a cadence to keep hitting the market, intercepting the market with extremely competitive, performance savvy, future designs on 1 alpha, 1 beta nodes and beyond, multiple capacities. And so we're really all in on the DDR5 portfolio. We also continue to take a leadership position within JEDEC, driving new technology and definition for the market. And so we really see ourselves as a leading player here with not only the DDR5 components and modules that are going to start your journey with DDR5, but power you through and help you lead over time. Yeah.
So I have my company and we have relationships with every hyperscale out there and every enterprise, tier 1 enterprise server OEM, and I know that they appreciate what you're doing out there. And by the way, one of the things that I'm super stoked about, and they're stoked about, and I talked to Roz, I think about a month and a half ago, was this notion of a composable data center.
Oh yeah.
So we're kind of gonna, we started broad, we narrowed in on DDR5, and we're going broad again. But how is DDR5, or is DDR5 the first step in the path to a composable data center? And then, if the answer is yes, then what does the rest of the journey look like?
Sure. Yeah, we think it is. It's really DDR5 is on its way to becoming kind of the de facto memory in both the client and server spaces. More typically the server space. It really is kind of that jumping off point to what we believe will be a radically new data center architecture that's really driven by the heterogeneity of the workloads that these data centers are faced with every day. It starts to become a kind of a layer in the memory and storage hierarchy in and of its own, and starts to interact with other layers of that memory storage hierarchy, like high performance memory, like high bandwidth memory, or HBM, servicing the AI and HPC space. Also LPDDR and GDDR servicing some of the inference and things like network accelerator spaces. And so all of those XDDR acronyms mean that there's a good degree of heterogeneity, and we think a sort of initial step into this composability that's ushered in with interfaces like CXL. And so we, of course, support all of these technologies, and we're striving to be the ecosystem partner of choice when it comes to mainstream memory, when it comes to CXL, and everything in between. So we're very, very excited about where this is going, and think this is just the first few innings of a very long game.
Yeah, Ryan, I will echo that. And I've talked to architects of the largest scale out data centers. And it's so funny. I can't get them to give me details, of course, because they all want to get a jump on this. But all of them are super excited about this because it ends up that memory is the last thing that is not composable, right? You
Right.
have compute that's composable, you have storage, you even have networking
Right.
that's composable, and kind of this last bastion is, and really nirvana state is having this bank of memory that
Right.
any application can be multi-tenant, and that really just does change everything. And if you think about it, provides the most appropriate resource segmentation that you can have. Because listen, I'm sure the processor folks love that every time you need more memory, I need a new socket. Okay. But
Right.
even if the customer doesn't need a new socket, they just want more
Right.
memory. Right.
Right. Right.
So I'm super excited about that. And the folks that I'm talking about are excited about it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are fairly existential, issues coming right around the corner sooner rather than later, and this composable infrastructure really helps to resolve some of those issues. Things like, hey, I just purchased a very very high core count CPU, and my memory subsystem, even as good as DDR5 is, it still isn't enough bandwidth for me, or it still
Right.
isn't enough capacity, and so we're really imagining ways that with new interfaces, capacity expansion and bandwidth expansion become reality in the not too distant future. So, like I said, we're very excited and working directly with our end customers to try to understand what that world looks like in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So Ryan, gosh, time flies fast when at least I'm having fun.
Absolutely. You got any more time?
Yeah. So no, hey, I really appreciate you bringing, doing the drill down on DDR5, why people in the data center would need it, what makes you special, how you've enabled the ecosystem, and finally, what is the path? DDR5 being the path to a composable data center, a fully composable data center that includes memory.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, I want to thank you for the time as well. Had a great time chatting with you.
absolutely. Thanks, and please come again. So this is Pat Moorhead with More Insights and Strategies, signing off with Ryan Baxter from Micron. We hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any suggestions, ways to improve the show, hit me up on Twitter. You know how to find me, and I'm there way more than I should be. Take care and have a great day.